Values. What are personal values? Personal values are like the guiding lights for your life. They help you to live the life that you imagine yourself living. They help you to choose the right path in a difficult situation. They help you to make meaningful decisions that help you to make your life story as you would like it to be remembered. Basically, values makes you who you are. They are kind of your own personal brand. But where do they come from? They develop from our childhood all the way to our adult life. They get influenced from everything, starting from our culture, our friends and family, and even our workplace. But it is always in the background. Most people do not think about it because it is running a bit on the subconscious level and they don't know what their personal values are. It takes some deep reflection on your past actions, your behaviors, and your feelings to identify what is most important to you. What are the values that you use to make the decisions? And some time ago I did this exercise for myself to identify what are my personal values, and I found 3 of my most important personal values. They are respect, responsibility, and relationships. And I will explain to you a bit more what I mean by those words. So respect. In our current societies, I noticed that it is very easy for us to respect someone who is higher than us in a social order. For example, our elders or our parents, our managers in our workplace, or for example, people who are in authority, for example, doctors or police officer. But it takes extra effort to be respectful to a person who is below us in social order. It can be the children's, it can be your subordinates at your work, or it could be even the beggar standing on the corner of the street asking for something. It's much more difficult to be respectful to these kind of people. It didn't come so naturally. For me, I have heard many times this phrase that respect is something which needs to be earned. I completely disagree with that. My view is that respect is something which everyone deserves by default, and only by their actions they can lose it. Respect as a value means for me to respect everyone regardless of their background or their social status in the society. But it also means to respect a difference of opinion, especially if that opinion is completely opposite to mine. I have seen many people disrespecting each other simply because they do not share the same political or religious views. Everyone has the right to have an opinion. And if that opinion is not directly affecting me or other people in a bad way, I have no right to disrespect their opinion or them. So this is what respect means for me. And about responsibility. So I come from a very traditional culture where being the eldest child and the only son in my family, it comes with a certain set of expectations throughout life. And by fulfilling those expectations, this has infused a deep sense of responsibility in me. And what responsibility means for me is to take ownership of my actions, both the good and the bad. Especially if I make a mistake, I feel very responsible to take the ownership of that and admit it to myself first, and then to anyone who was influenced by my actions and by my mistake, that I made a mistake. And I will promise myself and them to never repeat that again. That's responsible for me. It is also means that if I will promise someone to do something in a certain way, I do it in that way. This means that I need to be honest with myself. If someone offers me a responsibility, I need to first think if I can really do it in the best possible way. And if the answer to that question is no, then I should not be taking that responsibility in the first place and should say no. I see quite many times people accepting responsibilities without thinking if they can actually do it in the best possible way, and then struggling later on, which is not good for them and not good for the person who is giving that responsibility. So that's responsibility for me. And the last one is relationships. I was a very shy kid during my childhood, and on top of that I was moving from one place to another every few years. So when I look back, it is a bit surprising for me that in all those places I somehow managed to find really good, deep friendships. When it comes to making acquaintances and small talk, this is something I had to learn by myself. It didn't come naturally, and I'm still not good enough at it. But when it comes to making really good deep friendships, somehow they happen naturally. And it's not like I notice them, they just are one day there. I realize that I have made a really good friend. And they happen at a subconscious level. But nonetheless, the relationships, be it your friendships, your family, or even the romantic relationships, they require a certain level of investment. If you would leave them on autopilot, if you don't give them the enough attention and time that they deserve, they will fade away. They will not be there anymore. So for me, it is much more important to have few relationships where I can give all the attention and the time that they deserve, rather than having too many where I cannot give any attention at all. So these are my three values, personal values, which are important for me: respect, responsibility, and relationships. Do I live by them all the time? Are all my actions always aligned with these three values? Probably not. But by knowing them and by thinking about them, especially during the tough decisions that I have to make during my life, it helps me to make them in the right way and in the most positive way to influence my life. A few years ago, I was listening to a TEDx speaker, and he asked us to imagine ourselves listening to our own funeral and listening to our own friends, close one, talking about us. And how would we want them to talk about? And I thought about it, and it came down to my personal values. So if I'm listening to my funeral and my close one after I'm gone are saying that I'm a responsible and a respectful person and someone who actually made a significant enough difference in their life by being there, then I think I have lived a purposeful life. And today, after you go home today, I want you to think. I want you to think about your personal life, to reflect back on your past actions and behaviors and feelings, and try to identify what is important for you, how you make your decision, how you live your life. Why? Because I think life is like a journey, and values are your guiding lights, which let you take the path to the destination that you want to take. And if you don't know your values, how will you live the life that you want people to remember you by?